Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. We are looking ahead to the big game tomorrow night in the Europa League between Ferencvaros and Celtic, and we've got a pretty good panel for you today to do so. We've got Euan. Hello Euan.
How's it going? You alright?
Yep, I'm more than alright, I'm very good. And we've also got Kevin McCluskie, football writer. He co-founded NB2 Hungary. He's also the sports editor of Budapest Pulse. He's based in that city where Celtic will visit tomorrow night. What's the situation in Budapest at the moment? Is kind of cases on the rise a wee bit again?
Yeah, for COVID cases, they're back on the rise, maybe for the last month or so. But there's been a kind of high uptake in the vaccinations, so it's something that's it's kind of been taken in the stride over here. Really, there's not so many restrictions at the moment, but I think they might be coming back in play quite soon, actually.
And in terms of the game tomorrow night, we were kind of hopeful there would be some Celtic fans at the match, but it seems like there won't be. Celtic came out earlier today, actually. They said there'll be no access for Celtic fans. Basically, there's not been enough time for Ferencváros and the Hungarian authorities to meet requirements around UK vaccine certificates. I think just recently the EU countries decided that they would accept UK vaccine certificates, but it seems like there just wasn't enough time left in the day to get it done, Kevin. So Celtic fans are going to miss out tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'm quite disappointed at that one because obviously living out here, don't get the chance to go to the games very often. Last year, I had the chance taken away from me with COVID kicking in and the game only being played at Celtic Park. Now this year, kind of looking forward to having everyone over and getting that kind of atmosphere back with the Celtic fans being around, which I think they'll still be here in numbers, but it'll be a shame that no one will actually get to the game, or certainly very few fans will be able to get into the game. Because I think it's not good for the game when you've only got one set of fans in there. It goes for any match, so it's a big disappointment.
Definitely, you and a lot of Celtic fans, I think, over there, as Kevin says, and we know what they're like. Remember the stories from Seville, well, the most recent Seville when we played Betis, and I think a guy hid in a toilet or a bathroom for 3 or 4 hours and squeezed into the game.
I've hid in Hungary for 4 years just to get into this game.
I'm sure people will find a way, but it does seem like it's going to be difficult with all the vaccine certificates and stuff like that, and it's just disappointing. But I'm sure Kevin will tell us as well that it's an incredible city, so that there'll be loads to do there. But you're disappointing that we can't get fans into that game.
Yeah, hugely. And I just hope with Bayer Leverkusen coming up that Celtic fans will at least get to be away supporters in one Europa League game this season. That'd be great. But it's a blow. It's a real blow. And it's advantage Ferencváros really.
What was the reaction in Hungary to the first game, Kevin?
Actually read on your website, it was an article by David, I think it was, that wrote it, and he kind of summed it up quite well, that there was this kind of mixed reaction. So you've got Denis Dibus, the goalkeeper, coming out and saying he thought that they played quite well and controlled the game, which is something I would agree with for the first half. I actually was a little bit worried at half-time that Ferencváros were managing the game very well. Then in the second half, obviously, Kyogo gets the goal and Celtic kick on from there and win it. And that's, I think, where the manager Stoger's comments come in, that kind of once they lost the first goal, the confidence went. And that's what won the game. And that was a disappointing thing for him, that he's wanting to see a lot more fight from his players, a lot more belief that they could actually win at Celtic Park again. So I think the kind of overriding feeling, the emotion after the game was just one of disappointment that they didn't do themselves justice with the full 90-minute performance.
Yeah, they seemed to tire quite badly in that second half, and Celtic could have won by, probably 4 or 5 goals with the chances that we missed. And yeah, I was a little bit disappointed in Ferencváros because I was expecting a lot more from them, a team who'd been in the group stage of the Champions League last season, obviously put us out, had probably, it's fair to say, given a better account of themselves than Celtic in the first couple of games of this season's Europa League. And I expected us to really have to work hard for the 3 points. And I'm not saying we didn't, because we were really good, I thought, and we did work hard for the superiority, but it was kind of handed, to us at points in that game. The first goal was brilliant, but I mean the penalty that we got and missed was a gift from the defender. The second goal was a bit of a gift from Ferencváros, and as I say, we could have scored more later on. So I take it, Euan, that we're expecting a bit more from them when they're at home, and when it's basically a must-win match for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And their recent form, probably since that Celtic game, has actually been pretty good. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce any Hungarian football team names because I don't
go
want...
for it. Give us a laugh.
Go on.
Mostly because I'm struggling to remember them now. But I know they put 7 past the team in a cup. I think it was Tuchel.
Yeah, Tuchel. Yeah.
And they picked up another one after that. So I think they've scored 9 goals in the last 2 games. I could be wrong. From what I know, their home form has been pretty outstanding. Especially in more recent games. I could be wrong on that, but maybe my research isn't particularly good. But they're a good side. They're a good side with a lot of threats, and I thought we saw that at Celtic Park. They've got players like Ryan May. Again, I've never pronunciation. I'm not sure I'm getting 100% right, but what impressed me was, they weren't able to take chances, but their chance creation I thought was pretty good. They use their wide players really, really well, and I expect on home turf, they're going to have probably much more of the ball. And be able to recycle the ball with a lot more confidence, because obviously if that's their first trip to Celtic Park with supporters there, it does make a difference. So good team. Peter Stuger, he by all accounts is an impressive manager. So taking absolutely nothing for granted tomorrow. As cliche as it sounds, I think they're a good team who probably underperformed as much as Celtic were really good. So yeah, it should be great. It should be a great game though. We're expecting a lot of goals.
Kevin, are they going to come out and play more than they did in the first game? Because it is basically, they need 3 points, don't they, to have any chance of avoiding, finishing bottom in the group? Yeah,
I think they will. I think that's been one of the big changes over the summer with the change in manager. Remember as well, Thomas Mortimer was on the show before the last game, and he spoke a lot about Rebrov and his bunker footsie, which is basically every man behind the ball to a degree. It's very pragmatic. It's hitting on the break, kind of Catenaccio style, I suppose. You get your goal ahead and then you play the game out. Whereas Stoger's a lot more attack-minded. He definitely likes to play with excuse me, a mix of between either a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3. He's very attack-minded. And actually, against Betis, he went with 3 at the back with 2 wing-backs. Again, just to get extra width in the team. So he's spoken a lot in the last week about this being a must-win game, and I would definitely expect them to come out and go for it from the beginning, which I think could possibly play into our hands as well, because they have to go for the win. They've got to go for the 3 points. They will leave gaps at the back if they go for it, and they've actually been fairly dodgy defensively this season, although you're quite right to point out they've kept 3 clean sheets in the last 3 games against sides that they pretty much should be. But when they've come up against kind of a more stern attacking test, they've actually buckled quite a bit this season. So there's hope for us that if we can keep it tight at the back, we'll get chances against them.
Yeah, I wanted to home in on what you just touched on there, the fact that it may play into our hands if they come out and attack us tomorrow night. I certainly feel the same way. It's strange at the moment with Celtic, because you almost feel more confident going away to Ferencváros than you do playing at home to Livingston at the weekend, because you know that we'll have space to play into it, and you know that our best players, Kyogo, Jota and Abada, if he plays, all like space. I mean, Abada's the obvious example that when he's got space to run into, he's a totally different player to what he is when he's got defenders facing him up. So I think tomorrow night, if those 3 start up top, then it could be really, really positive. You only have to look at that first goal against Alkmaar that we got, and you could see similar things like that happening tomorrow. They looked quite nervy, Ferencváros, when we pressed them last time as well. especially in that second half. As I say, their heads seemed to go a little bit. I wanted to touch on Tokmak as well, just briefly, Kevin, because he's a guy who we'd had built up. He put us out basically of Europe a year ago, and I thought he was really poor in the first game. There was an example in the first half when he had the ball breaking into space, and I think it was Adam Montgomery was really infield, and he basically left a whole channel to the right hand side. And Tokmak, if he'd done well, he would have played a pass in, and Ferencváros would have had a shot on goal, and the pass was under hit, and it wasn't accurate, and it kind of summed up his whole day. He looked disinterested. He looked pretty poor when he was on the ball. Has that been him all season, or was it an off day in Glasgow?
No, he's been quite kind of blown hot and cold ever since we played them at Celtic Park last season. It's gone back that far with him. He had the season before he was absolutely excellent. Everything he hit was going in, or he was creating goals every game. He was really the main man, and it started off the same at the start of last season. He was on form. He did well during the European run in the Champions League, but he's one of the players that the feeling is he's hit his peak at Ferencváros. He can't really achieve very much more. He'd been linked with moves away last summer, in January, and again this summer, and nothing ever happened. So there's a feeling that he's just a little bit unhappy actually where he is, and it shows in his performances. Every now and again he'll put in a blinder, and he's always a threat. You can never discount him. But there's been a few more of those kind of cold performances lately that's crept in.
Wee bit of the odds and Edwards about him, is that what you're saying?
I wouldn't say that, but yes.
Oh, we love Edward, but he did go through a phase like that last season. Euan, you mentioned Ryan May, Tokmak as well. They do have players who can hurt us. They just didn't look like it in the first game.
I don't think it was so much their lack of quality as how good a defensive performance that was from Celtic. And what Celtic did against Ferencváros, that they built on what they did against Aberdeen to an extent. They ceded a little bit more possession, and we're happy with Ferencváros coming into our half because just defensively we looked much more solid and much more ready to spring counterattacks on them like a flash. So, for example, you've got Adam Montgomery. He's defending pretty much the goal line, manages to get the ball off the Ferencváros forward, moves it on, Jota passes to Kyogo, goal. And it was that kind of like just seeding of space and of ground in our own half that actually really worked for us. And I think it's something that Postecoglou has been working on, because in Europe we are going to be far less dominant against teams than we are. I mean, Livingston, we had 85% possession. We're not going to get that in Europe. But I thought what we did really, really well against Ferencváros was nullifying what they were able to do from an attacking perspective just by putting numbers around them. They're obviously really, really well scouted, which I thought was a difference from last year's Europa League. But I don't know if it's so much that they didn't really offer anything, but I think it's like pressed all over the park to such a high kind of level that it really it dealt with them really, really well. I think part of that is, you're going to get energy off your home crowd, so that's going to help you press that extra yard or two. Whether or not they can do that tomorrow night, I don't know, but I thought that was a really, really accomplished defensive performance, and I think Celtic ever since then have been much, much better at the back. I think that game was a really revelatory kind of point. So I hear what you're saying. I think they still do have attacking threats, but I think one of the most encouraging things going into tomorrow is that Celtic have proven that we can deal with these guys. I'll be made to look stupid for saying that, but it's fine.
It wouldn't be the first time.
No.
We've proven how we can deal with them at home at Celtic Park. I personally still think the jury's still out on this Celtic defence in a tough away hostile European venue. On that note, Kevin, what kind of surroundings, crowd faces Celtic tomorrow night? We should say, I've had a couple of people asking me, is it the big, I think it's the Puskas Arena that Ferencváros play in? It's not. They play in a smaller stadium in Budapest. Still a decent sized stadium, but not the one we saw in the Euros.
That's right, yeah, it's the Groupama Stadium that Ferencváros play out of, which I think it's 30,000 capacity.
Will it be full?
I was just going to say, I think it will. I think they'll fill it out. For the game against Betis, I'd say it was probably about 80% full. But this game's got so much more importance, I think, riding on it. and that if they lose, they're out. They've got to win. So I think they'll come out, and I think they'll support in numbers. So it'll not be full because there'll be a few empty seats where Celtic fans should be, but I think it'll be fairly packed, and it'll be quite loud and noisy. Behind one of the goals, they've got so the ultras sit. So they've got basically the whole stand behind the goals with the ultras, kind of similar to the Green Brigade in that they just sing for the whole game and really get behind the team, and that lifts the rest of the stadium. So I think it'll be quite a hostile environment to go into. They'll do some sort of tifo display that will be intimidating to the team as they walk out. But we're used to playing in front of 60,000 fans at Celtic Park. We used to go to Ibrox and playing in front of 50,000 Rangers fans nowadays when we're not allowed in there. So the level of atmosphere, and that, it probably won't affect the Celtic team as much as playing, probably as much as it affected Ferencvaros playing away from home last week or 2 weeks ago. We've got a bit more experience of that. So I'm hoping that the players can adapt to that quite well and not let it get to them.
So on the list of hostile atmospheres we've faced this season in Europe, you've got down the bottom, no offence, Jablonec are down there. It wasn't exactly a hostile environment. What else have you got? Betis, Alkmaar. Is Ferencváros at the top of the list, do you think?
I would think it would be out of them, yeah. Because I think if you're going to Betis, there's a bit of a fan friendship there anyway, I think. So it's quite a friendly / hostile environment. This will just be hostile. Eastern European fans get behind the teams. They're quite vociferous, they're loud, they're vocal. So yeah, I would definitely say this will be the most hostile that we'll have to face.
Euan, should we run away through the teams then? I should say team news from Ange today. Nothing we didn't really already know. Karel Starfelt will be out until after the international break. I think same time as hopefully Tom Rogic will be back. James Forrest came through Saturday with no issues and is available for tomorrow. Is James Forrest in your team, Euan?
I still think it's a wee bit too early for him. I think he's got shades of Mikey Johnston, where he's going to make a couple of late substitute appearances and maybe get a start at the weekend. But yeah, I just don't really see him starting tomorrow. We've
Who's
got
in your team then?
Who's in my team? Do you want to go from top down or okay?
Ideally, start with the keeper. Yeah, that's usually how it works.
So obviously, Joe Hart starts in goals. The defence was a bit tricky, but I think Stephen Welsh will come in for Karel Starfelt. I think you're going to have Ralston on the right, Juranovic on the left, Carter Vickers in the middle of that defence. It wouldn't be my personal preference, but I would suggest that Nir Bitton is going to get the holding midfielder role again. You probably have David Turnbull and Callum McGregor in front of him. And then my front three would be from right to left, Abada, Kyogo and Jota.
I'm the exact same, which is a rare thing. You've usually got a weird one chucked in there, but I'm the exact same. I kind of outed myself the other day as a huge James McCarthy optimist, and I can't shake the weird feeling, and I get these weird feelings sometimes, Kevin, and they're usually spot on, that James McCarthy might start one of these next two games, just out the blue, like Ange likes to do. Feel it's more likely to be Dundee, though. I don't see it being tomorrow. I think it probably will be Bitton, Turnbull, McGregor in the midfield. And yeah, the other one up top, probably Abada. I just think, as I said earlier, with him running into space, he could be the obvious player to have there. James Forrest, probably not ready. Mikey Johnson, he did start Mikey Johnson in the biggest game of last week, which was the Hibs away game over Abada, so he could play Jota on the right and play Mikey Johnson, but I feel Mikey Johnson's best against tired legs, like in the first game when he terrorised Ferencváros, and I think Abada might be the one to start and run into space, the same as Kyogo. Kevin, I won't ask you for your full team, but does that sound kind of all right? Have you got any rogue shouts you think might start?
No, I think and hope along the same lines as both of you. For the starting 11, that would be my choice for the 11. My only kind of concern is that Ange might go with Bitton at centre back instead of Welsh, which then gives you James McCarthy in the team. But other than that, I think that's the strongest team we've got.
Everyone's kind of assuming that Stephen Welsh will start at the back, but he did put Bitton to the back on on Saturday rather than bringing Welsh on. Now, I know that was Livingston at home, and arguably Beaton at the back is fine at home to Livingston. He's probably not as fine away to Ferencvaros. But, Euan, is there a chance that what Kevin's saying could happen and Beaton could start at the back?
Yeah, of course there's a chance.
He doesn't seem totally convinced in Welsh, does he, Ange?
He did comment on Welsh recently. He was talking about him and Dane Murray and the progress that they're making. No, I don't think he completely is sold on Stephen Welsh, but I think for the sake of tomorrow night, tactically, I think it probably makes more sense to have Beaton in the middle. I mean, if it was up to me, I'd be more cavalier. I'd maybe bring someone like Jota or Euan Henderson, who has seemingly disappeared off the face of the earth. I'd bring someone more attacking in and have Callum McGregor sitting as a 6. But I think in terms of actual realism and not what I would do in Football Manager, Near Beaton will probably stay in defensive midfield. There is a rogue shout. You could, I mean, not a lot of people, but I've certainly seen some commentary suggesting that Anthony Ralston could be used more centrally because of what he's done in terms of being an inverted fullback. You could have someone else on the left, Ralston coming in the middle on the right side of the back two, and Juranovic on the right. But I don't see it. But I have seen a few comments suggesting that might be an idea. Yeah,
Gigi at all? Is he just not going to start tomorrow? It's not his kind of game, is it? Or have we written him off already? As you know, has not been able to play in games where there's space.
I don't know, honestly. No, I just think Kyogo's movement gave him so many problems last time that for me it would be him. And then later on, if we need a more physical approach, then you could bring on Giakoumakis, no bother. I think we need to see what he can do from set pieces, for example. But no, probably not as a starter for me. But not saying that he's bad or anything. I just think that's you have the best front three you could go with, and Giakoumakis isn't maybe in that yet.
Yeah. Prediction time. Kevin, do you want to set the tone? You don't need to give a score if you don't want to.
I'll go that the game will be fairly similar to the first leg, and that I think it's going to be a pretty tight game, and the first goal is going to be massive because I think the first goal killed Ferencvaros' confidence in the first game at Celtic Park, and the way that we play at the moment, I'm never sure that we can come back if we lose the first goal. So I think the first goal is massive. Whoever gets that, I think, can go on and win it. And obviously, it's going to be Celtic that will score first. So I will go with 2-0 again for Celtic.
If recent history has taught us anything, it's that when Celtic score the first goal away from home in Europe, we lose the match. So not sure how it's going to go. Euan, prediction?
I'm going to stick my neck out and say 2-1 Celtic.
3-1, a late breakaway goal to clinch it for Celtic. That's how I'm looking at it. Just quickly before we finish the other game, Leverkusen v Betis. Leverkusen missing a few key players there. I think Patrick Schick is one of the key players. I think Bakker's missing as well for them. Euan, what we wanting there? Have you worked that out?
Honestly, that the maths is not my strong point, I've got to be honest.
Here's a very simple way to look at it. If one of the teams wins, then they take 3 points from the match, whereas if it's a draw, combined they only take 2. So a draw.
No, that's a good point. Hang on. Carry the 7. Yeah, no, I think that works out actually. In terms of what I actually think will happen, though, I think Betis looked really, really good against Leverkusen last time. It was a really, really good 1-1 draw. I know a 1-1 draw sounds like an absolute snorefest, but it was really good. Betis have been on the better form, and honestly, they're probably my pick to win the group at the moment. So I don't know how that works out for Celtic, but probably not well.
I think as long as we win tomorrow, we'll take whatever happens, and we'll just take it from there. Kevin, it's been amazing to have you on the channel. Do you want to plug anything you're doing in your life, where people can find you, etc.?
Yeah, if anyone wants to, you can find me on Twitter. I am on handles Kevin McCluskie 1. And if you really, really have an interest in Hungarian second division football, you can also follow me at Hungary NB2.
Fantastic. Kevin, Euan, thanks so much. Thanks everyone for watching this video. We will be back tomorrow with the reaction. I think John is joining me for that. We'll also possibly have a third wheel as well. So thanks everyone. Take care and hail hail.